And if every little kid understood how to turn a problem into an opportunity and how to think laterally and how to inspire the people around them and be an entrepreneur, I think our society would be far better off, not only economically, but also socially and politically as well.
Kia ora team, Richard Liew here, editor at nzentrepreneur.co.nz, and I'm talking today with Dave Moskovitz. Dave is the chair at the Global Entrepreneurship Network, New Zealand. He's talking to us from Wellington, and he's going to explain a recent piece of work that they've just put out called the Entrepreneurs Manifesto. So Dave, thank you for talking to us today.
Hello, Richard. Hey, thanks very much for talking to me. Yeah.
Now, can we just get straight into it? Who is GEN? I mean, it's a Global Entrepreneurship Network, New Zealand.
Right. So there's a large global entrepreneurship network that is active in over 200 countries. And it was sort of spun out from the Kauffman Foundation, which is a US-based foundation which studies economic development and prosperity. And these are the same people who came up with a research study, must be about 10 years ago now, showing that almost all new jobs that are generated in the country don't come from long-established companies. They come from new ventures, like startups. So here in Aotearoa, New Zealand, the Global Entrepreneurship Network, Aotearoa, New Zealand, it's a nonprofit. We're a trust, and our purpose is to connect entrepreneurs to the people and resources they need to thrive locally and globally. And so you think, well, why is that important? Why would we want to do that? Well, we believe that entrepreneurs are really the key players in creating a more resilient foundation for intergenerational economic and social prosperity. And more to the point, in our society now in 2023, things are changing ever more rapidly on a daily basis between environmental factors like climate change, the housing crisis. It seems like, there are new crises that are showing up every day. But we believe that it's entrepreneurs who are able to overcome these crises with ingenuity and innovation to help progress civilization. So that's who we are. We have over 140 organizations that are part of our network, which include incubators, accelerators, academia, local and central government, investors, and other entrepreneur support organizations that all contribute to the Global Entrepreneurship Network Aotearoa, New Zealand. And in fact, this manifesto that we've just released was actually written collaboratively by our members. So this isn't something coming from the central committee. This is something that the people who are involved in actually doing the entrepreneurship or supporting entrepreneurs have decided. These are the things that are really important to progressing New Zealand as an entrepreneurial society.
There's a term I heard recently, which called entrepreneurs, our economic first responders, which talks to that whole point you just made, about them they have a bias for action, and that really the problems that we are experiencing today, societally, economically, technologically, sociologically, they're really all going to be solved by entrepreneurs. And New Zealand is, as we know, absolutely no different. We're a nation of entrepreneurs.
Increasingly, the entrepreneurs that we're seeing, especially here in Aotearoa, are people who are not in it for strictly commercial reasons. They're in it because they really do want to create a better world to live in for everyone, not only themselves. And if they can extract some value along the way, that's great. But the whole social entrepreneurship scene here in Aotearoa is really, really rich and vibrant. And it's one of the things that makes me proud to be a New Zealander.
Now, I just want to quickly touch on your background as well, because you are an entrepreneur yourself. You have been. You built businesses and you've divested some businesses. And you've also spent many, many years putting your own money back into supporting New Zealand entrepreneurs as an angel investor. And I know that you were named Angel Investor of the Year, I think, 2018 by Angel Association New Zealand. So you've got a lot of experience, not just building businesses, but also working with and supporting entrepreneurs. And can we jump now into this the piece of work that we're talking about, the Entrepreneurs Manifesto? Can you tell us a bit about what that's all about? Essentially, my understanding is it's a series of policy recommendations for government. But recently, there's also been some work done by another organisation called the Startup Advisors Council, which also has made some recommendations to government. For anyone who's confused about the two, or can you just quickly distinguish between those two pieces of work and organisations?
I have to say that we are very highly aligned between the two groups. So the Startup Advisor Council was set up by MB. There are some people that were selected by the government to be on that council. The Global Entrepreneurship Network, on the other hand, is a much more grassroots organization, and we probably represent earlier stage entrepreneurs than the Startup Council does. And we also represent more widely entrepreneurs rather than just people doing startups. And so I think, and that's one of the recommendations that we have, is that in the manifesto is a lot of the focus from government has been on sort of unicorn farming, if you will, building companies that can potentially be worth billions of dollars. And that's a great thing. We're not saying that we shouldn't do that, but we are saying that we also need to focus on people with slightly less ambition than that, and people who want to create jobs, people who want to improve the society that they live in, and people who want to do other good things which are not necessarily going to result in companies worth billions of dollars.
There's 6 broad themes that the manifesto covers. If you had to pick out, let's say, the top 3 initiatives across those themes, what might they be?
Well, there are 25 initiatives in the document altogether underneath those 6 themes. It's really hard to choose one as being more important than any of the others, or 3. But I'd say that the very first theme, the very first initiative that we mentioned, which is creating a multi-party national entrepreneurship vision and roadmap, is absolutely critical. We want to get everyone aligned, and especially government, in a multi-party way so that things don't change every time the government changes. We want people to have a long-term vision for how we can support entrepreneurship as a society, and what our vision is for an entrepreneurial society, and how we're going to achieve that vision. So the second theme that I would pick, or the second initiative rather, is developing an entrepreneurial mindset through the education system, starting as young as possible. And we're talking primary school or even preschool. I want kids to think of every roadblock they come up against as an opportunity. I want them to be thinking about when they run into trouble, okay, what are the hypotheses that I need to validate? What are the experiments that I need to run in order to overcome this problem? What do I do when I find out that I'm wrong? How do I pivot and pick something else of value to do? And these are things that you can teach little kids. And if every little kid understood how to turn a problem into an opportunity, and how to think laterally, and how to inspire the people around them and be an entrepreneur, I think our society would be far better off, not only economically, but also socially and politically as well. So the third initiative that I'd pick is reconfiguring government science funding to reward collaboration and incentivize commercial research outcomes. Right now, if you go to university and pull a lecturer out of their office and say, hey, what's going to contribute to your career progression? They're going to say, I need to publish more articles in peer-reviewed journals, right? And that is the main focus of our tertiary research system, is researchers publishing articles in peer-reviewed journals, and that's how they progress their career. Well, that's great, and that's how we progress science. But unfortunately, there is a big leap between that and economic progress that's based on the science. So if we can help our scientists and researchers be slightly more commercially focused and incentivize commercial research outcomes, and get these researchers to work together with entrepreneurs and private industry to solve pressing social and economic problems, then I think that we'll be able to really accelerate the impact of science. Now, I know you only asked me for 3, Richard, but I've got another 2 that I really want to put in because they're really, really important. One is improving the government procurement processes to give Kiwi companies a fair go. Because right now, government is very risk averse, and when they buy stuff, if there is a shiny big international corporation that's selling them something, they're probably more likely than not to choose that solution over a small local New Zealand innovative firm who's trying to do something new. So if we can slightly pivot government procurement toward being more favorable to local New Zealand companies, New Zealand entrepreneurs, given that government is about 40% of GDP, even a small shift could make a huge difference. And the last one, the last initiative, which is really, really important to me, I mean, they're all important, but what I'm going to mention now is to be able to tell our entrepreneurial stories better, both locally and globally. And again, we need to inspire people locally and overseas. I want every kid who grows up thinking that, you know, I want to be Peter Beck when I grow up, rather than Richie McCaw, Peter Beck being the founder of Rocket Lab, or Rod Drury, the founder of Xero. I want kids to think, I want to change the world. I want to do something really exciting. I want to create a venture that's going to have lots of people involved and be of global impact. And I think that's more exciting than sport, and it's more impactful on the economy as well. And if we can do these things little by little, we can shift New Zealand into being a more entrepreneurial society for the betterment of everyone.
Now, that was 5 out of, I think you said 25 initiatives in total.
That's right.
But in listening to those that you selected, you know, what really strikes me is that there's a balance there, or seems to be a theme of, yes, there's some recommendations, but there's also some challenges there that you're laying down to government, you know, such as around the, you know, supporting local vendors for government projects. You know, that's a very simple one. But it strikes me.
It sounds simple.
Well, it sounds simple, yes, doesn't it? Buy New Zealand made sounds simple. Now, are we walking the talk though? You know, that's not such a simple question for a number of reasons. But so if people wanted to get their own copy or learn more about the manifesto, where do they go?
Well, hopefully in the description of this clip, you'll put a link to the manifesto. It's on the genglobal.org website, the New Zealand Entrepreneurship Manifesto is what we're calling it, the New Zealand Entrepreneurship Manifesto 2023. And it'll be on LinkedIn. You can access it by contacting me or emailing us at nz@genglobal.org.